From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
A new buzz in agriculture.
Think of artificial pollination.
How robotic bugs could one day replace the humble bee on the farm. Strong words from President Trump to the EU.
They don't take essentially don't take our farm products.
As pork producers look for better things in the new year.
Pork demand in general has been good, and trade exports have been good.
The prices and the pressures on the industry right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. More farmers choose Pioneer brand corn because it delivers game-changing yields. Join a winning team. Pioneer brand corn. Your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. While cattle prices have been on a climb lately, pork has also been on a steady rise. And pork producers are hoping 2025 will be a turnaround year for them. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me. Michelle, you recently spoke with several pork industry leaders about what they're looking for this year.
Clinton, the nation's pork producers are trying to heal after a couple of years of the worst financial losses in history. While hog prices have been improving, especially in back month futures, producers are still facing headwinds like possible tariffs, the effects of Prop 12, and disease. Yet optimism is still growing in the industry about 2025. Hog prices hit historic lows starting in 2023, causing massive losses, and only moved to profitable levels the second half of 2024.
I think without question, lower grain inputs are a significant help to the livestock producer right now. You see the board is trading higher, cutout's been good, pork demand in general has been good, and trade exports have been good. So a lot of positive things on the meat side of the industry.
In fact, U.S. pork exports have been a true bright spot.
We're on pace to break another record here in 2024 once the final data comes out, but $8 billion in pork exports, adding $66 to every head of hogs marketed.
And domestic demand has also remained solid.
We've been holding about that 50 to 52 pounds per capita consumption annually for 2 decades.
Yet even with higher hog prices and lower feed costs, restoring the financial health of the industry takes time.
I mean, there was a lot of losses that have to be covered before we actually start seeing profits. The pigs are profitable right now, but to make up for the losses is going to take a little while yet to recover from some of that.
One of the immediate barriers to recovery is disease.
Definitely there's been some PRRS activity in the industry. I would say, the numbers that are reported to U.S. or to the University of Minnesota are definitely a trend higher.
And there are concerns about tariffs and trade, yet producers and industry leaders are still optimistic about the year ahead.
One thing about our producers, they're so resilient. They're going to come back. They're going to find a way to survive in the meantime, and now that's going to give them some opportunities to backfill some of those holes that were created due to the poor economy.
I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. It was a more optimistic tone set at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Business leaders, world-class academics, and top government officials speaking about economic prospects for the year, along with efforts to end wars and progress on the technology front. President Trump, speaking virtually at the forum, called on OPEC to lower oil prices, and he strongly criticized the European Union's trade practices.
From the standpoint of America, the EU treats us very, very unfairly, very badly. They have a large tax that we know about, and a VAT tax, and it's a very substantial one. They don't take essentially don't take our farm products, and they don't take our cars, yet they send cars to us by the millions. They put tariffs on things that we want to do, like, for instance, I think they actually, in terms of, these are non-economic or non-monetary tariffs, and those are very bad, and they make it very difficult to bring products into Europe, and yet they expect to be selling, and they do sell their products in the United States.
The European Central Bank chief responded to accusations from President Trump by urging negotiations and mutual respect. Also on the trade front, a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers has introduced a bill seeking to revoke China's permanent normal trade relations status. The status is a legal designation in the U.S. for free trade with a foreign state. It was granted to China back in 2000. Now, Michigan Republican Representative John Molinar, who chairs the House Select Committee on China, along with New York Democrat Representative Tom Suozzi, unveiling their Restoring Trade Fairness Act. Now, the bill follows Mr. Trump's recent executive order, which instructs the Commerce Secretary and the U.S. Trade Representative to assess legislative proposals regarding the future of permanent normal trade relations status with China. The Partnership for Climate Smart Commodities program has been halted for now. The Trump administration implementing a freeze on climate funding, affecting the key Biden initiative aimed at making the food system more environmentally friendly. Now, the program received $3.1 billion in funding from USDA. The initiative involved contracts with numerous companies and nonprofit organizations to develop these climate-friendly agricultural practices. Now, the program's funding came from the Commodity Credit Corporation. Southern California finally seeing some much-needed rain to aid firefighter efforts there, while the South also went from snow to rain. What can we expect this week? We get a preview from meteorologist Jack Van Meter.
Taking a look at the impacts of our current snow depth, we can see that snow is slowly but surely fading away, especially for those in the south. Still actually seeing a decent snowpack actually just to the south there of New Orleans, sitting pretty strong at right around 3 inches. But as we can see again, there's still some snow on the ground going all the way through Georgia and parts of Florida, of course, still going to be in the graps there. But we're actually starting to see some pretty decent melting, especially in parts of the plain states going into the Ohio Valley region. As we can see, a lot of snow going into Indiana and Ohio. Actually, it's only down to a trace, and actually doesn't look like there's a lot of snow chances left in the forecast. Decent snowpack, of course, to our north, and of course the Rocky Mountain states and the mountains out west, the Sierra Nevadas and the Olympics holding strong as well. And while most of the snow may be gone in the south, the memories will live on. This photo taken last week in normally sunny and slightly warmer Pensacola, Florida. The famous beach ball water tower and the scene around it coated in snow. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Part of the storm from last week that brought historic snowfall along the Gulf Coast struck Ireland late last week with incredible force. Forecasters calling it a bomb cyclone. Storm Eowyn hit areas of the country with 114 mile-per-hour wind gusts, leaving thousands of homes, businesses, and farms without power. A horrifying story out of Northern California that ranchers never want to see. A woman is facing charges of animal neglect after dozens of horses were found dead. The San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office says deputies executed a search warrant at multiple properties. They found several malnourished horses in addition to about 27 dead ones. 16 horses were rescued. Unfortunately, 4 horses and 1 bull had to be euthanized. Investigators say 62-year-old Jan Johnson of Clements was arrested. She is facing several charges, including criminal threats and cruelty to an animal. Live cattle hitting another record high to end last week. Can the run continue? We'll talk about it next. And later, a look at some amazing robotic insects and the role they could one day play on the farm.
AgDay is sponsored by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator steel closing wheels, perfected in conventional, excels in no-till. Order 12 to 16 rows today and qualify for free shipping or 20% off an end zone moisture management package.
Cargill is settling an alleged turkey price fixing lawsuit against it. The lawsuit was filed back in 2019. It accused major turkey producers of conspiring to fix, maintain, and inflate turkey prices in the U.S. by exchanging sensitive information. Now, Cargill denies any wrongdoing and claims the settlement is to avoid litigation risks. Other companies named in the suit include Butterball, Purdue Farms, and Hormel Foods. Reuters reports the company will put $32.5 million into an escrow account for the benefit of the settlement. The settlement is still subject to court approval. Cattle continue to be on a tear, with live cattle futures hitting record highs for a third day in a row on Friday. AgDay's Michelle Rook is back with more on how we'll be starting this week in Markets Now.
Grains all leaning to the downside on Friday. Dan Bossy is back with us with analysis. And Dan, let's talk just a bit about some of the pressure that we saw in the grains. Corn and soybeans had a pretty good up week. So was it profit taking, or was it more Argentina lowering their export tax?
You know, it's a little bit of each, Michelle. We saw the grain market set back overnight on news that Argentina will make their exports more competitive. They dropped their rate, if you will, on soybeans by about 7%. So it works out to about 67 cents a bushel relative to the tax that either farmers get a benefit or the exporters get a benefit. We'll let them figure that out, but they are going to be more competitive. So that kind of started us out to the downside. And then we started to get some rain across Argentina. The weather pattern looks like it's changing. So, you know, more regular rains are projected for the next couple of weeks. That's of help as crop conditions have been falling. And after this rally, I think going into the weekend, we saw some profit taking, uncertain what would come forward from the Trump administration.
And not only that, but we had run up into some chart resistance in both corn and soybeans, hadn't we?
We really have. You know, it's interesting. If you look at corn, we are looking at open interest that is now back to 2 million contracts. It's right back at the old high. And we would imagine Monday, when you get commitment of traders data, we'll be looking at 370,000 contracts long there too. So the market speculatively is getting a little overextended.
And the funds have actually started going a little bit long in the soybean market. Will they keep pushing the long side of that market too, or not?
I think so. As long as the charts are pointing up, the algo systems, AI systems, if you will, buy momentum. That's why we've been up 8 of 9 days. Today was the first down day since the USDA crop report in January. You know, if the market doesn't hold on Monday or Tuesday, maybe that's a warning signal. But for today, they were buying to break, and that's what these funds will do until they get real evidence that the trend has changed.
Okay, thanks so much, Dan Botsy with Ag Resource. We'll have more Ag Day coming up.
Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
Let's go ahead and take a current look at our radar in just a couple hours. As we can see, still eyeing a system out in California. And actually, it's going to be part of a system that really is going to be affecting much of the country later on in the week. We can see that we do have some mountain snows, but also some pretty heavy rain that is going to be going down into Southern California. An issue is going to actually spark some mudslide and landslide concerns since those freshly burned wildfires out there. So it's something we're going to be keeping a pretty close eye on. For the rest of the country, just looking at some Gulf moisture moving up for much of the southern states. And behind that, maybe a little bit of a clipper system kind of moving down as some cooler air settles into place. But we are watching that low starting to develop out here. Again, we're a little bit more Gulf moisture moving in, but actually much of the country will be fairly warm. Let's go ahead and delve into our jet stream to tell us why that is. Now, again, still dealing with those really, really cold temperatures up into parts of Canada. And again, that freezing line, which is going to be right around the green shade here, pretty much coming through Indiana, is actually going to be forced upwards in the middle of the week. And the reason for that is going to be this low pressure that's going to be out in the Four Corner states, specifically right around Arizona. As that low starts to deepen and actually starts to strengthen, what it's really going to do is pull a lot of warmer air from the south and force it northwards to parts of the plains and actually, again, parts of the Ohio River Valley. As we can see, that system slowly but surely moves up and moves up a lot of air going into this week and starts to deepen. And this actually will be our next system that we'll be keeping a very close eye on just because of how strong it looks to be. And as a result, of course, going to be bringing a lot of precipitation, especially to the south and actually Texas as well. Fly, Ohio, 38 degrees, low of 31 degrees. Bug, Kentucky, 45 degrees and a low of 30 degrees. Good news is they're going to be seeing ample sunshine throughout much of the day. And finally, B, 42 degrees and a low of 23 degrees.
It's considered an icon in the tractor world, and Machinery Pete has the records to prove it. We'll show you next. And later, nature's pollinators may have competition as technology looks to one day help bees do their work in the country. Machinery Pete has a look at the latest prices on an iconic tractor, and he has a lot of records to talk about.
Well, folks, I've documented almost 2,000 auction prices on John Deere 4640 tractors over the past 35 plus years. Of course, an iconic model series, the 40 series made from 1978 to 82. Actually saw the third highest one sold ever last Thursday, January 23rd. It was an online auction by our friends at BigIron.com and Sullivan Auctioneers. And here's a picture of it. It was just a beautiful 1980 model. It was showing 1,708 hours on it. It was a quad range and had a very detailed list of all the overhaul work done to it. And it sold for $57,250. And again, that's the third highest auction price I've ever seen on a 4640. Now, kind of interesting, the highest price, and still the record, was another one that Sullivan Auctioneers sold. You might remember this one. It was an auction back on August 3rd of 2019 in Bingham Lake, Minnesota. I was there filming it for YouTube and our TV show, and they had a 79 model, really unusual one on that sale. Only had 826 actual hours on it, one owner, and that sold for $61,000. And again, you can go to YouTube, just type in Machinery Pete 4640, you'll see that one pop up. You can watch it sell. That sale also had a crazy high John Deere 4430 on it. Now, the third highest auction price I've ever seen on a 4640, here's a picture of that one. It was back on June 21st of 22, online auction in Lamars, Iowa that we helped promote. And that was an 82 model, only had 1,857 hours on it, one owner, and brought $59,000.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, bees make the agricultural world go round. But could they be replaced by robots? We'll show you the latest pollination innovation next in the country. Scientists from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have developed something pretty incredible: advanced robotic insects that could aid farming through artificial pollination. Alice Rizzo has more on the technology.
Scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology are developing advanced robotic insects that could transform agriculture.
These type of robot will open up a very new types of use case. For instance, we can think of artificial pollination.
These tiny robotic bugs each weigh less than a paperclip, according to new research published in Science Robotics. And compared to previous models, they can hover for an impressive 1,000 seconds. That's over 16 minutes of continuous flight. Here is Suan Kim, co-lead author of the study and a researcher in the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Department at the MIT.
So since our robot, is looks like an insect, and then it's very lightweight and small, if you can really precisely control the robot, we might be able to do something on top of flowers or leaves, which really requires very delicate interactions.
Right now, researchers are working hard to improve the robot's flight time, payload capacity, and precision. Their ultimate goal is to be able to land and take off from the center of a flower, just like a real insect.
We want the robot to be able to have board, battery, and sensors on board. So to do that, we need much higher payload than now. So what we're currently pushing very hard right now is to optimize the robot design to be able to lift more and more so that we can afford these potential payloads.
For him, robots like these could be especially beneficial in controlled indoor environments such as vertical farms. Vertical farming is a rapidly growing industry backed by billions of dollars in global investment. It is seen as a solution to the food security challenge posed by climate change and geopolitical tensions.
There are really the cases where we can't rely on honeybees anymore, such as indoor farming, where we can't really have honeybee columns in it because of safety issues or some environmental issues. So in that case, we can start thinking of using our robot, if it works well for those indoor farmings.
Long term, the team hopes that these robotic bugs will be able to fly on their own outside the lab. But for now, they remain far from matching the complex capabilities of natural pollinators.
Pretty incredible stuff. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.